All right, again, my name is James. I am a video production specialist here at Video Guys. If you have any questions about video equipment, latest and greatest in terms of NDI and all of that stuff, give us a call, 800-323-2325, or you can just leave a comment down below on Facebook or YouTube. The last 2 weeks, we have done a couple different things with our shows because unfortunately for us, our studio had a little bit of some water damage happen to it. We had some water come in from the wall and onto our floor, and we had to replace our entire floor in our studio. A lot of the times we will talk about cameras or production systems or things like that and how to make a studio. So we thought today we would tell you about the changes that we made to our studio to hopefully make something like this, A, not happen again, and B, if it does, make it that much quicker to fix the issue. So we're going to talk about what we did to our studio, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how we were still able to do the shows the last 2 weeks without missing any shows. So first thing I want to talk about is floors. We had a blue carpet in our floor, and we thought that at the time that was the best thing for sound absorption, for comfort, being standing up here, for hours at a time. And of course, that when that got water on it, there was nothing that we could do other than tear it out to prevent it from getting, dangerous or anything like that. And so we had to make that decision. Do we want to go with carpet again, or do we want to go with something else? And at the end of the day, we decided to go with LVP vinyl flooring, which is luxury vinyl plates or planks or something along those lines. It's just look up LVP vinyl flooring and it'll come up. And the number one reason that we went with LVP vinyl flooring is because of static electricity. One thing that we noticed as we were walking around in our studio, because we don't just do our shows in our studio, we film our product spotlights in our studio, we do all of our testing for new products that come out. We do all of that in our studio, and we're constantly walking around, and on the carpet, we noticed that we would start to build up static electricity, and then when you go and touch something, you have a small chance of transferring that electricity to the object. Fortunately, we never had any product get damaged by doing that. However, true story, there is or was a light mounted above my head here, and I went to turn off that light one day, and I had, I guess, a lot of static electricity build up from being in the studio all day, and I did actually fry the circuit board in the light. Fortunately, like I said, we haven't had anything like that happen to a product. But for one of our lights to go out, we decided, all right, we're not doing carpet. We have to do something else. Again, vinyl flooring. Another reason that we went with the vinyl flooring is because a lot of people think that it doesn't have great sound absorption, but in fact, the LVP does. Basically, the way that it works is underneath that top layer, there is a padding there that absorbs your sound. So as I'm walking around, you're not going to be able to hear it, because there is padding underneath it, and it will help reduce with noise. And then also, because there is padding underneath it, it's still relatively comfortable to be walking on or standing on all day long. I don't worry about, my feet getting sore by the end of the day. Another thing is, it is easy to clean. Say I were to spill my drink, or, something spills on the floor, twist ties, something like that. It's a lot easier to clean up a smooth surface than it is to clean up a carpeted surface. One of our fears with picking the vinyl flooring was that, we're constantly moving light stands and tripods and computer stands and all of that and this, that, and the next thing in our studio. So we thought, well, if we go with wood flooring, we're going to scratch it and it's going to look bad. Well, with the LVP, there is scratch resistance built into it because it's not actually wood. It's just made to look like wood. And because of that, it's scratch resistant, and we don't have to worry about, sliding a tripod here or there and worrying about, severely damaging the vinyl flooring. Plus, a bonus is it really does look great. Most of the time, our viewers here won't be able to see our floors, but we do often demo our equipment for local houses of worship, local schools, in particular high schools, to have them come in, get their hands on the equipment, see some of the latest and greatest technology. And let's face it, a nice vinyl flooring is going to look better than, a carpet or something like that. So we decided to go with the vinyl flooring because it looks nice as well. While we are doing all of these renovations in our studio for the flooring, we decided, hey, let's take it a next step further and also do something about the walls in our studio. In our studio right now, we have a green screen and then 3 white walls. Not yet, Adam. So the thing that we wanted to do was, knowing that we are using a vinyl floor, we wanted to put some other sound absorption stuff on the walls and even the ceiling. So there's actually a soundproof curtain to my left here. And then again, you won't be able to see it, but we have some soundproof padding along the wall and our truss here. And we're going to add some more as we go. And there's 2 main reasons that we're doing that. The first is because it's soundproof. It helps reduce echo. There may be a little bit of an echo right now, but as we put more and more of this soundproof padding, that echo is going to be reduced. The other thing is because we want to be able to control all of our lighting. So usually these soundproof pads or soundproof curtains are going to be either black or some other dark color that absorbs all of the light instead of reflecting the light. Again, we're not just shooting in front of a green screen in this room. We shoot our product spotlights here against one of the white walls. And when we're doing that, I don't want to have color or any kind of light bouncing all over the place. I want to have total control of our lights. And if you have a white wall, that's just going to bounce the light. When you go on a website and look up for a bounce board, you're going to see that bounce boards are white. White bounces light. You're not going to see a black bounce board. Those are going to be your flags or your negative fills because those are black. They absorb the light. And so that's some of the reasons that we want to put more of these curtains and black sound absorbing pads on the walls. For our green screen, we are in the process of repainting our green screen. And the biggest thing that we found from our research is that you want to make sure that you get specifically chroma key green paint. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than going to, just Home Depot and picking up green paint, but there's 2 main reasons. It's a very specific shade of green that you want for your green screen, and it's going to be highly saturated, so your machine that's doing your keying is going to be able to key it much nicer. And then also, it's an extremely matte finish. So in theory, again, we're talking about bouncing light. We don't want the green screen to bounce light all over the room. We want it to just stay on that wall. And even though the wall is only a few feet behind me, as you can see, it's not spilling that much onto me. And that's because we're using chroma key paint, or paint specifically designed for that. Now, we're going to do something a little bit rare here in our studio. We're actually going to turn off the green screen key and show you some of the new additions that we have done to our studio. So as you can see with this camera, we are in the process of putting a second coat of paint on our green screen. One of my favorite features that we're adding is this nice big truss here. And what we're doing is we're actually trying to get all of our cables off of the floor and hanging either off of the truss or something like that. And then lastly, if we pan the camera down a little bit, you will see that we have our nice vinyl flooring there, and it looks great in my opinion. It is a relatively dark color, so it's not bouncing too much light, and we get all of those benefits that we already mentioned on the previous slide. Now we're going to talk about 2 different ways that we were able to do our shows without being in our studio. The first thing that we did, and that came to our mind, was immediately when we realized that we couldn't use the studio 2 Mondays ago, we knew that we needed to do a show the next day. So fortunately, we already had our PowerPoint presentation done, but we didn't have a way to present it. Our studio was half torn apart because we needed to get everything out of the studio because everything's wet. Everything wasn't wet, thankfully, but some things were wet and we needed to just get them out of the studio, especially because the floor needed to be replaced. So the first thing that we thought of was, we're going to use the YoloBox Ultra. We talk about the YoloBox Ultra all the time, and we finally put it to the test, and we were able to do a lot of the things that we currently do with our TriCaster. For our simple setup, I just brought the YoloBox into our studio, into our office. I brought in 2 lights and I brought a tripod with a Panasonic camera on the tripod, took the HDMI out of the camera, plugged that into our YoloBox, and then for our screen that you see here, because I was sitting at a desk with a 32-inch monitor, I didn't need a virtual screen. I had a real screen right next to me. And in order to combat that a little bit, I again brought the lights in, was able to raise the f-stop on my camera to increase my depth of field to make it so both myself and the screen were in focus, and you could read both the screen clearly and see me clearly, and neither of us were out of focus. And then when I wanted to pull up the screen full screen, because the YoloBox Ultra does have the ability to use NDI inputs, I again used NDI screen capture on my computer in our office and was able to bring the PowerPoint presentation into the YoloBox with no issue. And then, same thing as what we're doing with our TriCaster right now, I put in a custom RTMP, sent that to restream.io, and then Restream.io sent our stream to both Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. And we were able to do, again, and I totally even forgot to mention, we use Flowix with our TriCaster, is our T-Flowix, and the YoloBox does allow for web URL overlays, which means we were even able to use all of the same graphics that you see on our screen right now, right into the YoloBox with no problems at all. And just like we said in that same episode, the YoloBox Ultra is actually on sale right now. If you don't know what the YoloBox Ultra is, it is an all-in-one switcher, monitor, encoder, recorder. It's got a built-in screen, it's touchscreen. You can have 4 HDMI inputs. You can have up to 3 NDI inputs if you purchase the one-time NDI upgrade. You can do ISO recording, you can do replays, you can do a lot of stuff with this basically run and gun tablet-sized switcher. And for until the end of the month, this YoloBox Ultra is on sale, normally $14.99 for $13.99. And I say this is the perfect time to get into that, especially if you're going with an NDI workflow, because you can take that $100 off and then just put it right towards the NDI upgrade. And again, now you can have 4 HDMI inputs and 3 NDI HX inputs, and you can do a lot of different shows with that many inputs and that much versatility. The other thing is our distribution company, Broadfield, did a show last Thursday, and typically what they do is they bring a guest in from a manufacturer and talk about some of the latest features, very similar to what we do. And we had David Doku join from Canon, and for that, we actually, because this was last week, we actually were able to move our TriCaster, set it up in our small conference room, and then what we did was we put a simple PTZ camera on the network in Jim Bask's office, pointed it at him, brought that camera into the TriCaster, and then we also opened up an NDI Teams call like we always do with a guest, and extracted David Duku's audio and video from the Teams call, and we brought that into our TriCaster as well. And so we basically did the same show that, again, we normally do, even though we didn't have a studio. It may look a little bit different, but it's always about having a backup plan in just in case, because the show must go on. Even if it's not exactly what you always do, it looks, 80% the same, 90% the same, and you still get that content out, still get your message out to your viewers. Now, we're talking about TriCasters, So let's go over some very quickly the differences between the three main TriCasters that we offer at Video Guys: TriCaster Mini Go, TriCaster Mini X, and the TriCaster Mini 4K. The TriCaster Mini Go is the newest TriCaster Mini from VizRT, and this is their most cost affordable TriCaster, and it is NDI and USB only in terms of inputs, and it goes up to 1080/60. Next up would be the TriCaster Mini X, which is personally our favorite TriCaster Mini. The TriCaster Mini X goes up to 4K 30, but the difference with the TriCaster Mini X is it is NDI compatible and it has 4 HDMI ports on the back of the unit. So you can mix and match HDMI and NDI sources very easily. And you can have up to 8 sources connected to it all at the same time. And then the next TriCaster Mini is the Mini 4K. This is an NDI only TriCaster as well. It has 4 NIC ports on the back of it. The thing that sets the TriCaster Mini 4K apart is the ability to go up to 4K 60. You can still have up to 8 inputs. You have the 4 NIC ports on the back of it. You can add more ports by adding a network switch. But if you do have some HDMI sources that you want to bring into your production system, fear not. The TriCaster Mini 4K comes with 2 Spark Pluses, which are HDMI to NDI converters. So you can have 2 HDMI legacy cameras, or maybe a PowerPoint running on a computer, take the HDMI out. You can still bring those HDMI sources into your Mini 4Ks. Now, this is an extremely brief overview of what a TriCaster Mini is. If you do have more questions about the TriCasters, definitely feel free to give us a call, 800-323-2325. The last thing that we considered doing in our scramble was to just use a LiveView Solo Pro. Now, quite often we will talk about having a LiveView Solo Pro and bringing that anywhere that you do your live streaming, just in case the venue doesn't provide internet access or reliable internet access. So, a lot of the times we say, take your TriCaster, take the program out of one of the HDMI ports, the mini display port, 2 HDMI adapters, plug that into the LiveView Solo Pro, and now you can have your stream go out from anywhere in the world with its cellular bonding. But what we considered doing was actually just taking a single camera, plugging that into the LiveView, and then just using it as an encoder. You don't always have to have a big production going on, but even if you just have a single simple camera with a microphone to go live during your scheduled time and say, be upfront with your audience and say, hey, we're having technical issues, or we're having, studio problems, or we're renovating, or whatever, just so you don't miss that time slot. We get a couple thousand views on our videos every week, and part of the reason is because no matter what, we go live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So we considered just hooking up a camera to the LiveView Solo Pro and just saying, hey, we're going dark this week, we don't have any content. But fortunately, we did. We had a YoloBox Ultra, but not everybody has that that ease of access to a whole nother production system. So having something like a LiveView Solo Pro to back up, your internet when on venues, but also just backing up, being able to stream at all is a great idea. One last thing that I wanted to mention is that a lot of the PTZ cameras on the market now are able to send out multiple IP streams, and so you can have an NDI stream on your network, but you could also send out an RTMP stream. In our studio, we're using the PTZ Optics Move 4Ks, and there is nothing preventing us from taking one of those camera feeds and just sending it to YouTube. Again, it's not ideal. You're not going to have your graphics or anything like that, but you can plug a microphone into the back of a lot of these cameras and still be able to do a single camera stream, just so you don't go dark completely for that event. Be communicative with your audience. Anyway, my name is James. I'm a video production specialist here at Video Guys. This has been our show about, some of the changes that we've made in our studio and how we were able to make the show go on even though we didn't have our studio. I hope that you learned something from this. I sure know that we learned a lot from this experience. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to give us a call, 800-323-2325. And that's all I got for this week. So we'll see you next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Peace.
Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.